Hello, everybody. Mariner here. Gabe and I are on the beach. Hibbo doesn't know what the hell's hit him.
Well, but I have a cider here, so it's
excellent. Well, you've been on the beach today.
I have
already. I saw you caught the sun there.
It's coming that time of year. Like say April, May, we get good weather. June, July, August, it just rains.
But you know, if you have a shave, you might get sunburnt, mate.
The chuns aren't great. Like.
Nice to see you, Hibbo. Good to have you on again. Gabe, how are you, mate?
I'm 100% on the beach. I'm doing well because of it, though. I honestly I've been so disillusioned with everything this week. I've only watched highlights, but I'm feeling good. I'm not feeling downtrodden or anything.
Well, that's the main thing. I've already had all my woes of what's been going on in the game week on the Compass show. So even I'm in a better mood, having been told off by Hibbo for being too negative.
Hibbo's the positivity police. He'll come get you.
You have to stay positive. Like you're in a good spot in terms of overall rank, and I think just a focus on the negative. Look at the last few game weeks and just go for your best ever finish, because I think that's what you're going for anyway. Just go for that.
Yeah, I am now. Yeah, it's exactly best ever finished. If I can just one under it, I'm not bothered. Literally. Mm-hmm. But anyway, right, let's crack on, boys. I suppose just the usual sort of stuff. We're net that hole. This is the matchup show. We're going to look at game week 33, and we're going to look at the fixture difficulty now for the running. We are getting towards the business end of the season. Some of us wish it finished early. Some of us are still trying to sort ourselves out. But anyway, we're going to have a look at that. We've got Hibbo to break the template with his hammer, Hibbo's hammer. That's just been christened, actually, I think, just now on Twitter. We've got Gabe to do his matchups, but I've absolutely no idea what he's going to do. So this is going to be entertaining. So
there's a reason why I haven't shared any of it, because when I start talking, like, where is he going?
Right.
No one's going to care.
Outstanding. And I'm going to do the fixture difficulty. So yeah, if you like what you're seeing, give us a like, give us a subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and also we are a pod as well. So if you want to catch us on there, just go to where you're listening to your pods. It'll be there. And on Apple Podcasts, I think Nima suggested it's the only one we can leave a review. So please leave a nice one. I think that's all we'll say really for that. So where do we start, boys? I suppose we start with the fixture difficulty as usual. So let us move across to that. And this is where we were at the start of the game week. So looking at this, we've got, just to explain as usual, between 0 and 7, 0 being the best, 7 being the worst for attack and defence. So as of last week, or the start of this game week, Man United have now a rank 1. Now, of course, we are waiting still for the game tonight, the Leicester game. So this could change slightly. But Man United first 1, Chelsea 1.1, Man City 1.8, Leicester 2.3, Liverpool 2.4, West Ham 2.4. And at the bottom of the attack, Sheffield United 5.6, Aston Villa, Palace, Brighton and Fulham all 4.4 to 4.7. So I think we've got a bit of a divide starting to appear now. We look like we've got Man United and Chelsea standing out from the perspective of attacking teams, certainly with respect to the numbers. And I would say Sheffield United standing out at the bottom. And then we've got sort of like 3 or 4 who, quite frankly, if you were matched up against them, you could be getting a clean sheet. What do you reckon, boys?
I'm surprised Villa is so low in the attack. Attack, I think their stats are not good. What's that?
They've been sliding now for weeks, and this is all down to Grealish. All down to Grealish not there, I think. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how. I don't think he might not be back. Some of those fixtures are not great, right?
Right, and then the other one that stands out is wasn't Brighton like third a couple of weeks ago?
Were they?
Or was that only in defense?
That might have been defense. I think they were about 10th.
So Brighton are sliding, have slid quite a bit as well, though.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that Palace are now bottom and that Sheffield United aren't. They were greater than 7, weren't they?
They were on the defence, yeah. On the defence side of things, yeah, that's right. Palace have dropped. But bear in mind, the way it works, as I've explained to people, a result drops off and a result comes on.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be, it's a relatively small sort of window of 6 game weeks. So of course, if they've got a hammering somewhere like Southampton did earlier in the season, they really struggled at one stage. Yeah, it does. So we have to, it's like anything, you look at it in context. And then the numbers are just the numbers. It doesn't mean to say that it's the be all and end all of everything. But yeah, you mentioned defence, Hibbo. So let's look at the defence and say Crystal Palace now bottom 6.6, Sheffield United 6.2, Burnley 6.2, and then a gap to Southampton at 5, and then another gap to Spurs, Villa, Newcastle, West Ham, Everton, all around the 4 mark. Again, it's polarizing. I think now we are very much in a situation where we have clear, I'll show this on the fixture difficulty in a minute, we've got clear targets, I think, starting to appear for defensive, for targeting, particularly for captaincies, I would suggest. And obviously, defensively wise, keeping a clean sheet, more likely Chelsea, although not if you own Aston like me. Brighton, Man City, Brighton, Leicester, and Wolves now. So they're now showing up on the as a positive, which was interesting because we were worried about them a few weeks ago, weren't we? But they have now dragged their way up with respect to the defensive fixture difficulty. Any comments on that, boys?
I think like looking at the team at the bottom of your FDR for defence, like there's a bit of narrative at the minute that Southampton, Burnley, and Palace are effectively on the beach because they're relatively safe in terms of total points, and Sheffield United are down. So I think Sheffield United are just potentially just going to get pumped at some stage in the running. And this running, see these last game weeks, there's always some team that gets bit like 5-1, 5-0, 6-1, 7-1. And I think it's going to be Sheffield United because I don't think they're going to have any fight left on them. They didn't have any during the season. Now the motivation's gone, they're down. I think somebody's going to give them an absolute pace.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, Crystal Palace, like I say, I think they're really up for a kicking now, to be honest. I don't know what I think so. Interestingly enough, Everton, not great. 4. I was watching The Wire tonight, and people were still talking about perhaps bringing Everton defenders in. I don't get that. That's my own honest view. I don't really get that. I think, to be clear, I think we're basically around the teams with something to play for in defence. If you look, you've got Chelsea, you've got Man City, Brighton, Leicester, maybe not so much Wolves, Man United. They've all got something to play for, haven't they?
Yeah, I think the Everton defender thing's going to be basically around the fact that they double in 35. Well, they're projected to double in 35, and they're guaranteed not to blank in 36. And to be honest, I'm glad that I've got Mason Holgate, deleted.
Yeah, I mean they've got a good fixture. Is it 36? They've got a good fixture.
I still love that you have.
It's your start.
They actually have really good fixtures over the next period. You're looking at Everton. Arsenal's difficult this week, but then they've got Villa, West Ham, Sheffield United, and then in the Sheffield United week they're going to gain a fixture there as well. So it's not bad. But here's the thing about Everton: it's hard to get excited about them. Digne, he promises so much, but he's kind of expensive for what he is.
And then the other thing to compare him to is, some people, we were talking about this before the show, talking about Spurs defense, and look how low Spurs defense is there. So I mean, Everton's certainly a better shout than anyone on Spurs.
Yeah. Well, and Spurs, like you said, we didn't predict they'd keep a clean sheet, and they didn't. If we move on to the fixture difficulty, and I've just got some. This is obviously the. If we look at the the matchups over the next few weeks, and we can clearly see here that, as I said, target Sheffield United, Crystal Palace, Burnley, possibly Southampton as well. It's a bit noisy.
Is that me? Sorry.
It's all right. Are they on the beach as well?
Everyone's on the beach right now.
I mean, look, I've just made a few notes on here. You know, Chelsea look excellent if you can pick the right one. I think, you know, that's the way I look at it. Plus 2.1 average for attack, plus 1.7 for defence. Very good. Green. You can see that on the here on the screen there. You know, very, very nice green fixture difficulties. Liverpool attack 2.5 against defence minus 0.5. Liverpool attack over defence. Man United attack over defence 2.3 over 0.5. Man City attack over defence 1.9 over 1. West Ham attack over defence 1.8 over 0.8 minus 0.8, and Leicester to a slightly lesser extent. Looks like the place to invest is in attack, is what I would take out from that with respect to the teams that you're possibly targeting. We can't miss the pretty tasty matchups for City and Spurs in 34. Look, City against Palace plus 4.7. That could be a cricket score. Yeah, Spurs against Sheffield United 2.6. West Ham against Burnley 3.8. Some really nice matchups in 34. And
you're going to bring in from City though, right?
Well, this is the problem: is that it's all well and good saying they've got great matchups, but who are you going to bring in?
Yeah.
So it's nice to look at, but in real terms, what we're going to do about it. 35, Man United, Villa, Liverpool, Southampton, great matchups. 36, Everton, Hibbo, you mentioned, Sheffield United, Leeds against Burnley is a good matchup in 36. And 37, Arsenal, Palace, Liverpool, Burnley, Newcastle. Newcastle, Palace in 37 is a really, really strong matchup. But what I wanted to just also mention, and I've just highlighted them in red, we're talking about beach teams. I think Southampton are targetable.
They don't look good, like, you know, they don't. I kind of think anybody that's got a decent point total at the minute and they're sitting maybe around mid enough table, like, I think, why are they going to try? Like, you know, we see this all the time. Like, you know, they just tail off. And
we saw. Remember Everton at the end of last season? They were abject. even Ancelotti on the sideline was on the beach. He seemed disinterested.
I mean, Southampton have obviously got Leicester in 34, Liverpool in 35. Fulham in 36 at the moment. I'm obviously depending on what they're going to do with these bloody fixtures, and God knows what they're going to do with that. But I'm ignoring that. They're going to play them at some stage. Leeds in 37 and West Ham in 38. I really quite like the idea of target. I think Southampton are one of those teams that I might target. I think now. Interesting, the attack over defence side of things. That's something that jumped out at me.
It's shifted from about a month ago, a few weeks back. Remember when it was all towards the defense, and now it's all back to attack. But it's nice to see this in the FDR color coded the way it is with the shapes.
Strange how it does. And one thing there's not been many clean sheets, have there? So that might be. Yeah, is this all starting to come to pass, sort of thing? Hibbo, any comments before we move on to the next?
No, section? I think we've covered it all there. I think that's fair.
All right, brilliant. Well, what we'll do now then is we just look at the rankings of teams for the running. Okay, so now we've stripped it right back to bare bones, and we're saying the top ranked defenses, the top rank, the bottom rank, top attack, bottom, top and bottom. Okay, so right, okay, top ranked attack now for the fixture difficulty. So if I was doing a fixture ticker, Hibbo, Liverpool top, Man United second, Chelsea, Man City, West Ham, Leicester, Everton at the top. At the bottom, Brighton now, Villa, Palace, Sheffield United, Fulham and Wolves. Spurs not that much further up, but that's obviously probably the death spiral of Mourinho still being in full effect. As I'm sure you're happy about that, Gabe. You did predict his demise.
It was as sure as death.
Yeah, and just defensively wise, if we just look at best ranked defence, Chelsea, City, United, Brighton still, Wolves, Leicester and Arsenal, and at the bottom, counting up, Palace, Sheffield United, Burnley, Southampton, Villa, Fulham. So I think it's fairly set in stone now. I don't think this is going to change an awful lot now between now and the end of the season. Slowly but surely, we're going to have fewer games. Games are going to start dropping off the ticker. I think we're just going to see this probably just polarise now. And I think we are concentrating on the top 5 and the bottom 5 for each section. If I was to try and say where we'd probably be going. Gabe, any comments on the ranks? Does it make you think about anything?
So two things come to mind. One, do we target defenses that are playing Brighton? For some reason, that I don't know why that doesn't sit well with me. I still feel like Brighton could do something. They are the team with the stats and the all fart no poo team of the season. So that could come. They could show up at any time. And then the other thing, and it's not for this game week, but obviously for next game week for 34. I mean, we have number 1 attack against number 2 attack, and how exciting is that?
Yeah, absolutely. But if you look at Brighton, apart from game week 33, they play Leeds, Wolves, West Ham, City, and then Arsenal. So not that. Yeah, you can probably see why it doesn't like them. I think they're about safe anyway. But I think if they're not, they're probably going to might find it a bit tough.
I think the fixtures for Brighton are actually all right. Like, I know we're looking here towards the end of the season and game week 38, but kind of looking at the next 4, like you're talking, say, Sheffield United, Leeds, Wolves, West Ham. But what I would say is, I don't think I would buy a Brighton attacker. It's Trossard. Maybe I know people within the chat groups and stuff like that were fairly keen on Trossard the last time they had a blank game week, and he's kind of flew under the radar. Nobody's really talking about him because maybe longer term they don't think he's a great pick. But against Sheffield United, Leeds the week after, I think he could be all right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm the same. I've been working on this algorithm. I've showed you a couple of times on the WhatsApp group. I've been working on this little algorithm to try and predict the top point scorers per week. And, just a bit of a spoiler, there's 3 Brighton defenders in it for this week. Right. Or 2 Brighton defenders and a goalkeeper, actually.
Right.
Veltman, Duncan, Sanchez. It loves them. It's a brilliant matchup for Brighton this week.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a fantastic. But like you said, but the forwards don't really show. So that just shows, doesn't it, that I think defensively they're very strong, but I think they're a bit misfiery.
I think they have to break the bank for Aguero, really,
Well, they need someone. I mean, they need someone, don't they? We had this conversation the other week that that they had Glenn Murray, didn't they, a year or 2 ago? Who was
Glenners.
Yeah, I mean, really, they do struggle. They do struggle with a striker.
Hibbo mentioned Gale, and you just hit the nail on the head on the player that I was writing about last night. I'm like, what am I doing? So, but we'll hear more about Gale later.
Fantastic! Right, brilliant. I'll throw me out away now.
I'll warn you all. You can all fall asleep, and I'll wake you up when it's over.
Oh God! And yes. So that's that bit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the fixtures coming up. And Hibbo, if you want to see if there's any questions which relate to these, we'll try and answer them as we go if we can. So if there's anything in the groups,
I'll start popping them in the chat as well.
Yeah, I was saying. So we'll see if we can just answer them as we go. So let's start with. Arsenal against Everton. So that's the first game. So, and what I've done this week is I've actually put mine and Nima's predictions down as well, just so you can see what we'd actually predicted. So I'll start from the back. I predicted a 2-1 Everton win, and Nema's predicted a 2-1 Arsenal win, probably because he's an Arsenal fan. But anyway, there we go. Arsenal attack 2.7 against Everton defence 4. So that's positive for Arsenal. Everton attack 2.9 against Arsenal defence 3.5. That's also positive, but not quite as much.
Just screams to me that both of them are going to score.
I agree. It just looks like the defences are not doing much. They're not great, right? I'd be surprised if there's a clean sheet. But I'd also say that, the attacks are okay, but they're not necessarily totally tearing trees up. They're not doing too badly. What, 8th and 10th?
There was a bit of news. Sorry to cut you off, Gabe. There's a bit of news during the week. They say that I think Oba and maybe like I said, they're both going to miss a game for Arsenal, so they might have Erin Akete or somebody up front, or maybe Martinelli. I don't know if he's fit or what the story is, but Arsenal aren't going to be full strength in attack either. So
no. So, well, maybe I'm going to be right then with that 2-1 win. Maybe I'm going to be getting another beer out of Nema when I finally get to London.
Well, the other thing is, I think I see this as a DCL game as well. If he's healthy, I don't know if he is healthy, because our Arsenal concede a lot from the center of the pitch, and we know Holding likes to ball watch. So I could see like a cheeky header, one touch finish kind of thing. If he's not healthy, even Richarlison running at that back line, I think could cause some damage.
Yeah,
but I don't. And then to touch on Hibbo's point on Nketiah, this is a player I love. Nketiah as a player, he's been at Arsenal, went up through the youth system a long time, and Arsenal fans really like him as well. So I think he's a talented player that could provide some returns if he can get some real time, but I don't think he'll last very long in that starting job once Lacazette comes back.
I think Nema quite likes Martinelli, doesn't he? I'm sure I've heard him say he quite likes him. I just think I agree with you, Hibbo. I think losing Lacazette and Auba is and is Odegaard still? Is he?
I think he's potentially he's a doubt anyway, as far as I can gather. Looking at the press release stuff today. So
so that could be a tough day in the office, I think, possibly for them. All right, so that's that one. We'll move on to the next one. Liverpool against Newcastle. So Liverpool's attack, as we've said, is really good. 2.4 against Newcastle defence 4.1. That's positive 1.7. Newcastle attack 3.1. Liverpool defence 3.5. Liverpool's defence is not great, and there's been a question about TAA and whether TAA is a captain shout this week. For me, spoiler alert, I put him in the metric. He's nowhere near.
No.
And the reason for that is because of the way the metric works is it looks at the clean sheet likelihood, and then it looks at the attacking stuff as the extra bit for a defender. You see.
And Newcastle's attack has been much improved in recent weeks, certainly in the past two. So,
but then we've got Saint-Maximin, who he certainly hobbled off, didn't he? I mean, I don't know whether we've seen any press conferences. I didn't have a chance. I've been working all evening actually, so I've not seen.
In fairness, while Saint-Maximin has, we'll get to him later in matchups as well. He has 3 returns in the last 2, but his stats, he's only played 96 minutes combined in those 2 games. And his stats aren't good. I'll explain why.
Okay.
I'll explain the discrepancy later, but his stats aren't that good. So you have to wonder how he obviously does a lot for the team, but how does he contribute exactly? And will his loss be felt that much when Gale and Callum Wilson, and Joelinton are all playing well?
And what do you think of the predictions, Hibbo? 3-1 win for me for Liverpool, and a 2-1 win for Nema.
I think they're about fair enough. I think Nat Phillips and Quebec had struck up a bit of a partnership, and I think Nat Phillips is out. So you kind of wonder what they're going to do. Are they going to drop Fabinho maybe back on the defence again? Because I know they are kind of fond of throwing a midfielder back away, and I think it puts their whole attack out of balance. Liverpool whenever they take the like a Fabinho out of the midfield. So I'd be interested to see if that's what they do. Because Phillips How long is he out for?
Well, hopefully not long because I own him. Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's serious though.
Another Mariner cock up. Now, I think that they said he's got something minor. I think, but saying that, who knows? If it's a hammy, he could be out for a couple of weeks. So.
What did you say? What did you say then? 3-1 and 2-1.
3-1. I said 3-1 and Nima 2-1.
Right, just to be argumentative, I'll say Liverpool will keep a clean sheet, 3-0.
Fair enough. But, I mean, as I say, their defence is 3.5. So on recent weeks, and as I say, I've got 4 results correct now in the last couple of weeks. In recent weeks, that 3.5 tells me that a team concedes normally. That's how I would normally look at it. And I think we'll slowly start to learn this as we go on. But I mean, of course, Gabe, we've got a certain player who's playing for Newcastle who might do a bit of good. You know, he's got a nice name. What's his name again?
Miguel, mi amigo Miguel Almiron.
It's all right. There's a request from FPL Banger in the chat, so I thought I'd just get that one out there.
Got that one out of the way. He'll come back into the fold.
Fair enough. Right, next one. Sheffield United against Brighton. This is a very interesting matchup. It's bright red. Oh, have I missed one? West Ham, I have. West Ham, Chelsea. Let me do West Ham, Chelsea first. West Ham, Chelsea. West Ham 2.4, Chelsea defence 1.4. So negative for West Ham attack. Chelsea attack 1.1. West Ham defence 4.1 plus 3. So that looks fairly, to me, it looks like Chelsea could turn them over. And I've gone for a 2-1. Now, a lot of the things what I've tried to do here as well, when we predicted this, and we said we weren't going to mention the Super League, but I'm going to mention it just in this chat. I actually thought there might be some 1 or 2 quite little strange results of teams trying to get one over on these big teams. So some of the results, some of the predictions you might see are perhaps thinking that teams might fight a bit harder against one of these top teams. So that was just in my thought process when we did this at the time. But yeah, so I went for a 2-1 Chelsea win and Nima went for a 0-0 draw.
I can see where Nima's going with this, because when West Ham have had when they've been struggling defensively, Moyes in this season has come out with a more conservative game plan and really sat 5 at the back. And that change has sometimes altered West Ham stats, but I don't see a clean sheet. I don't see a clean sheet for West Ham at all. Even if they do that.
And they've got Dawson out. There's Dawson out, isn't there? And Masuaku's out.
Masuaku's out.
Well,
Cresswell was injured recently, wasn't he?
Cresswell's injured.
Rice
is out, isn't he?
And Mikel Antonio. Yep. So
they've got.
What are they fielding? The reserves?
And Messi Lingard.
Yeah, and Lingard's flagged as well, isn't he?
I really don't need Lingard must not.
Don't talk about that. I brought him in as well. Everyone I bring in. I'm going to steal this, but what's his name? Randy Shafter on Twitter. Randy Shafter on Twitter the other week.
I love Randy. Randy's just amazing.
To this day, this is the funniest thing I heard, but I'm going to steal it off him. So credit to Randy Shafter. My team's got more flags than an opening Olympic ceremony.
It's the Mariner death spiral, the Mariner typhoon, bringing them in.
We got a Mariner death spiral now. Yeah, absolutely.
I think I've been part of your downfall, Mariner, because I was talking about strawberries and cream, and ever since that, I think the creams went off.
No, don't worry. Last week we were on about which vegetable, and I came up with Brussels sprouts. My season's gone to shit. Oh God, should we keep going? Sheffield United against Brighton. Right, finally get to that one. This is a good one, this one. Sheffield United attack 5.6 against Brighton defence 2.5. Huge 3.1 matchup in favour of Brighton's defence. And Brighton, so that's a definite binary Brewster job. And Brighton attack 4.6 against Sheffield United defence 6.2. I mean, crap. Both. I think Brighton will sneak it 1-0. Nima thinks it might be 2-0. What do you reckon?
I think maybe Nima's right.
Yeah, it's the sort of game where I think I might watch Strictly Come Dancing or something instead. I just don't think it's the sort of game I would want to watch.
Do you watch that shit, Strictly Come
No,
Dancing?
of course I don't. I was thinking of something I hate.
But he'll start just for this game. I think it was Swen shared in the chat that the FPL Wire, they did a live stream this morning, and apparently Zofar is starting Binary Brewster.
Yeah, I saw that because I was on and I put a load of ones and noughts in the chat.
Why is he doing that? Did he lose a bet?
or he's about to.
Oh god. Well, I mean, I'd have sold him by now. I mean, must be just keeping it just to be bloody minded now. Surely, you've got him that long. I mean, he's gonna score. He must score, right? We're gonna have an ode to Binary Brewster when he finally scores. We'll have a celebration.
I can see this game being 0-0. I have to say.
Yeah.
I don't. It
doesn't do much for me. It doesn't do much for me.
No,
not much at all. And this one is an interesting one as well. Burnley, Wolves against Burnley. Wolves attack 3.5. Burnley defense 6.2. So that's big positive for Wolves attack. And Burnley attack 3.8 against Wolves defense 2.7. So, as a Vidra owner, and don't get me going about that, why the hell didn't he play Vidra last week? But I thought, well, maybe I might get something, and of course, I now look at the Wolves matchup, and it's negative. That's, to me, I think Wolves have too much for Burnley, and I don't think Wolves are great, but I think they've got enough to beat them 2-0. And Nima went for a 1-0 Burnley win. So this is where we. What do you think, Hibbo?
Maybe 1-0 to Wolves. Wolves. I tell you what. If you had a pile of money, just put it on it being a draw at half time, because every Wolves game's a draw at half time.
Yeah.
They don't score in the first half, and then you look at the team at the minute. They've got like this William Jose, and they don't have any attackers as far as I can see. So I don't know. Neto's probably their best attacker, but Neves.
He's out now. Neves is out, isn't he? Neves is out. Neto's out. Neto, that hole is no more.
No,
so I mean, you're looking at.
I would be saying 1-0 maybe. 6.
William Jose or Podencio.
Or long balls to Traore. And goalkeepers moving out of the way for him. That's what it'll take.
And yeah, next one. And there's only 3 more, thankfully, so we can move on to the next sections. Leeds against Man U. This is going to be a good game. I think I fancy this as a bit of a goal fest. I think Leeds 3.4 attack, Man U defense 2.9, and Manchester United attack 1 against Leeds defense 3.8. This is the one I thought, Hibbo, that Leeds might want to turn up on the back of this ESL sort of announcement, and I went for a 2-2 draw, and Nima went for a 2-1 Leeds win. I don't know whether he was drunk. I think he was drunk on Tuesday night, actually. Some of these results.
There was something happening anyway. No, I definitely see Leeds scoring, if I'm being honest. Like, it's
me too.
I think United, they flattered it a wee bit in terms of like their defensive stuff, like, and like Leeds, they only play one way, like they can't really. Although in fairness to Leeds, I suppose recently they've tightened up a wee bit compared to how they had been, and they got the big result against Man City. So no, I think they could go and score there. Like, I think they could definitely score, and if it's 2-1, maybe possible.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I think it'll be a good game. I really hope Rafinha's fit. Well, I was hoping there might have been a press conference today, but apparently it's tomorrow, 9:30 UK time for Bielsa. So no doubt he's just going to take the mick out of everybody and just speak in Spanish again. Nima and I are absolutely convinced he can speak fluent English, by the way. I don't know if you saw that on there. We're totally convinced.
See the one thing about Bielsa, he's straight down the line with his team selection. Like, he never really throws any curveballs. He more or less gives a praise to the team.
No. But what we're going to do when we come to the UK, when we all get together, we're going to do a competition who can do the Bielsa crouch.
I can do it, but I won't be able to stand back up.
My knees, one knee will end up in Bromley and the other knee will end up in Fulham.
Was Klopp not doing the Bielsa crouch during the match the other night?
Yeah.
On the sideline, he was on the sideline for Merseyside Reds, and he was crouching over like a wee bucket.
Maybe he was just having a pee or something. I wanted to be sick about with what was going on. Maybe that's why he had his bucket, because he was ready to puke with what's been going on with this league. But no, we're going to do the Bielsa crouch, boys, and see who can do it for the longest. I expect there'll be hospital trips. For sure, definitely. Next one, Villa against West Brom. Local derby. No love lost there at all. This could be blood maybe spilt on the pitch. Villa attack 4.7 against West Brom defence 3.5. West Brom have really picked up. West Brom attack 2.6 against Villa defence 4.2.
They're not bitten.
This matchup likes West Brom.
They're not bitten Martinez this weekend. I don't care. It's not happening. Yes. This is 10-pointer Martinez stuff, like, and
tell me about it. But I've gone for a 1-1 draw, and Nima's gone for a 2-0 win. I just think that Villa's defence 4.2. That just again, I'm playing Martinez because I'm not playing Areola because he concedes in the last minute. So no way. So Areola's staying firmly benched till the end of the season now for me.
Fulham look just totally down, like, so.
Yeah, they do, and it's just so depressing. I mean, anyone who owned Areola and played him twice. I mean,
Fulham have had so many heartbreaking moments this season, right? I mean, starting with who was it that missed that penalty kick?
Lookman.
Lookman. Oh, that wasn't heartbreaking. That was shite.
But from that moment, and he was playing well. It was heartbreaking because Lookman was playing really well, and he stepped up to take that pen at the end and misses it. And from then, it's like every time they see some light, they kind of blow some dynamite in front of them in the tunnel, and it's darkness again. It's been a rough one for Fulham.
I know, but see, like if you have a pressure penalty and you're trying to take a Panenka, you need a slap. Like you really do need a slap. Like, just low and hard on the corner, like, that's how they take a penalty. And then you see these boys now, and they're all trying this Panenka, and I just think it's ridiculous, to be honest. Like, if you went to a local park and you seen somebody trying a Panenka, geez, everybody would be laughing at them. They would, like, it's such a bad penalty. Like, unless you're Pirlo, like, and then I think you can get away with it if you're Pirlo.
I could just imagine someone playing for Grimsby going up doing a Panenka in front of the pontoon stand at Grimsby. It'd be absolute. World War III would break out.
Boys would be looking to cut his throat.
I mean, Grimsby's players headbutt each other as it is. We've got one player sent off for headbutting the other last week, haven't we?
One player. Yeah.
What is going on there? Oh, by the way, Grimsby are relegated. They're stuffed. Bye-bye. Out of the league. Anyway, never mind. That's another issue. Leicester against Palace. Let's finish this off. Leicester attack 2.3 against Palace defense 6.6 on the beach. Baker, this is where we've got the hats on, mate, because Gabe and I are on the beach.
On the FPL beach over here.
Yeah, on the FPL beach. And Palace attack 4.7, Leicester defense 2.5. Negative for that. I see nothing but a spanking here. 3-0. And Nima's gone for 2-1.
Can't see Palace scoring.
I can't see Palace scoring either.
No.
I think Nima's getting worried about the beers he owes you, and he's trying to play differential in the matchups and trying to catch up.
There'll be a lot more yet, because when I get into when I get my competition hat on, and we'll see how we do there. But no, I mean, interesting enough, Hibbo, because you're going to talk about Leicester a little bit, aren't you? I think in your section.
They're the main focus. Well, I've got 2 Leicester players, or the 3 players I'm kind of tapping up this week. 2 of them are Leicester players for obvious reasons, really. Like,
yes,
you know, but
fixtures, right? Yeah, and yeah, look at this. It's a good matchup. So so that's the fixtures. So let's see how we do. As always, we'll put them up on the over the game week, and we'll see if people can get as many right as we are, or as many wrong, or whichever way it's going to be. If it's in Nima's case, but we can't take the mick out of him. Really. He's not very well, though, poor lad. I just see he's got a toothache. He's gone to the dentist.
He broke his tooth or something.
Yeah. Shouldn't be taking lids off bottles in the park.
Was that what he was at?
Well, probably. I don't know. I'm just saying he just sat drinking a bottle. Well, it's freedom, right? They've all got this freedom now in the UK, so they're all out boozing all the time.
It's starting to open up a wee bit. The beer gardens are opening up here next week. I can't wait.
Nice.
Speaking of beer gardens, while Germany's locking down and the Bundesliga is going into quarantine, like bubbles for their teams because things are getting so bad. So,
bloody hell, nice. Bad news. Right, let's quickly just say hello. Who have we got on anyway? Let's say hello to a few people whilst we're just messing about before we line up. Hibbo, I'm going to do your slides, okay? So I'll just put them up in a second. So we've got Surya on, Rakesh. Hi, Surya. Sweng's in again. Raj is in. Right, Aiden sounds like one of your mates.
Yes, well, no, I just blew him off Twitter. Aiden actually had a question there. He was asking about, do we think Mendy will play? He's actually got him doubled up with Forrester, and geez, I'll tell you what, that's one hateful position to be in, because
it is.
How do you make a goalkeeper choice? Like, never mind, like when you have 2 like non-playing goalkeepers. Like one transfer I hate to make as a goalkeeper, and if it was
I reckon Aiden needs my mate here. He needs his lucky leprechaun. Do you know what I think? Do you know what I think Aiden should do? I think Aiden should just go out and buy Martinez and be done with.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you think about Chelsea's situation with Kepa, right, and how much they paid for him, if Kepa stays on the bench, he's going to be difficult to sell, and they won't get much back. If they can play him and show that it was a mental thing that he's overcoming, they may be able to get some money back for him. That might be what they try to do towards the end of the season here.
No, absolutely. So so we've got FPL Banger, we've got Siver in here, Abilash is in, Ragav.
Harry's just joined us.
FPL 7764, Jamie Baker. Jamie Baker's in as usual. Oh, Harry's in. Hi, Harry. So Aiden's here. So nice to see you all, guys. So what we're going to do now is we're going to let you loose with Hibbo's stuff. So if you just bear with me, I will line this up, and we'll have a quick drink, and then we'll be back. Hibbo, break that template. Over to you, mate.
Over to me, okay. So, anybody that knows me, I do a piece for Fantasy Football Hub, and it's called Breaking the Template. And week by week, although I didn't do a piece last week by week, we tend to look at a couple of players within the template to see, should we be holding them? Should we be looking at moving them on? And this week I looked at the 2 highest owned players we on the template. So first up was kind of Harry Kane. And Harry Kane, we were looking at him last week, he had effective ownership in the top 10k, 216%. Mainly down to the fact that he was owned by nearly the whole top 10k. 96% captained him, and there was about 22% had him in the triple captain as well. And it kind of created a unique scenario in FPL where people, even if you had captain Harry Kane, he was scoring effective points against you. And I thought it was kind of funny because the website Live FPL, they came on for a bit of crap on Twitter, and people were venting, and you're going these are basically the mathematics of the game. They've always existed. You're basically venting against somebody that's creating a tool to help you out. Doesn't make any sense for me. So basically the explanation for the anomaly, for people that don't really understand it, was there was a double game week involving one team. this guy's basically contender for player of the season, and there was triple captainships in play. So we all know, like Kane, he scored the 2 goals against Everton, bad defending, but he took them well, and he limped off. And like my analysis this week is looking to see, is he expendable when we consider the fact that he blanks in 33 and we don't really know the extent of his injury? Because if he's maybe going to miss the Sheffield United game, is there an opportunity where we could lose him? And like, you know, I'm looking at, say, Kane's numbers there, and like you're looking at since game week 27, he ranks amongst all players top for shots, 27, shots on target, he's top with 11, shots in the box, he has 16, top again, top for big chances 7, and top for goals 7. The fixtures for Spurs are like, when we go beyond the blank, like you're talking Sheffield United, Leeds, they've got Wolves, they've got Villa, and they've got Leicester, so they're particularly juicy. Now, I think there's an issue in terms of Kane replacements and the fact that I know Nima had basically dubbed them like the alternative strikers. Like when we're looking at in the forward position at the minute, like the template is very much like 78% of managers at the minute own both Iheanacho and Harry Kane. So they're not going to be able to make that move to Iheanacho because most of them already own them anyway. So what I would think is, looking at the fixtures, if you just want to just click on the next slide there for me, Marner, please. Like, although you're looking at the progression of like Iheanacho, it has dented the appeal of Vardy to a certain extent. And like if you're to compare them side by side, Vardy or Iheanacho's miles better value. But whenever I'm looking at them fixtures for, say, Leicester, you're talking about Crystal Palace, which is a hugely beneficial matchup. Southampton next and Newcastle. These next 2 boys are on the beach. By game week 35, Newcastle could be safe. And you're thinking, do the fixtures look good for a Leicester double up and attack? I think so. If I'm looking at Vardy himself, like you're talking about, he's got 12 goals, 12 assists in the league. It's respectable. At the same time, he hasn't scored since the 13th of February. And if I was being totally honest, you're going to look at his goal threat using the hub metrics. All his goal threat stats, whether it be shots on target, shots in the box, big chances, and like actual returns in terms of goals, they've all dropped off. But like weirdly enough, his key passes have increased, his big chances have increased, and so has like his assist potential as such. So like nearly in a way, the absence of Maddison and the presence of Iheanacho has turned Vardy, and he's become like less sniper, more provider. What I will say is Maddison's on the way back. He had been out injured for a while. He was put in an audit step because of a breach of COVID. That's all sorted now. So we're going to see Maddison coming back on the side. Now, if we're going back to, say, August 2018 and looking at like Vardy's goals in the league since then, 73% of Vardy's goals have come against sides outside the European Super League Big Six. You know, they come against the rest of the teams. So like if you're looking at your Crystal Palace, your Southampton and your Newcastle, they're definitely kind of Vardy type fixtures. Like if we're looking at the immediate fixture, Palace over the last 6 game weeks, they ranked 3rd worst for shots conceded in the box, 61, and big chances conceded 17. So they are dire. Like, they add another element to this. Ben Crellins basically stated that there's a fair chance that the game week 36 fixture against Man United, not exactly the best fixture in the world, but that there is a fair chance that it's going to pull forward on the 35. So like where I'm going when we like kind of potential thing with Kane is, if Kane's going to he's blanks this week, so you're talking he's got a game week, he's got a fixture in 34 and a fixture in 35. There's a chance that Leicester have 4 games in that period. Now, if Kane was to miss 34, if we were to get noises that he's going to miss Sheffield United, I think you got to take a punt and go somewhere else. What I think is we're not going to get the news. And I think if we're not going to get the news, my recommendation is to hold. So just to move on now to the next point, I'm going to say, if you want to click the next slide for me, Marner.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, Hibbo. Again, just talking about this algorithm that I've calculated. It's got both Iheanacho and Kane selected for this week. Not Kane, Vardy. This week.
One thing I do want to say about Vardy, and it kind of came out in my Iheanacho scouting report, is Vardy he's taken on a little bit the role of what Kane would do when he drops deep, when Kane becomes provider. I think Vardy's kind of developing that. The other thing that I've seen him do is he's creating space for Iheanacho. That's been his role since they've been playing 2 up top. I showed it in that scouting report a couple of weeks ago, where Vardy's pulling defenders wide and Iheanacho's getting into those spaces in between, kind of between the center backs and the fullbacks. But one thing I'll say from a coaching perspective is usually that interplay changes. So it won't just be one player always pulling and the other player always filling the gap. That can change at any moment. So I really like the Vardy shout, because it could be Iheanacho opening space for Vardy once defenses adjust.
I kind of think the dynamics maybe going to change with like the return of Maddison, because like whenever I was looking back at Vardy, like, you know, Vardy was out, he had the hernia problem, he got the operation done, and then he came back. And then you look, he's had basically a dry spell since then. You look and you think, is he still trying to get over the hernia? But that period also coincides with the fact that Maddison hasn't been on the team at all. Iheanacho's on the team. The thing about Leicester is they're only going to create a finite amount of chances, and the chances have to fall to one or two forwards. And at the minute, they've all been falling to Iheanacho. But I think it would be a fallacy to turn around and say, that's the way it's been going, that's the way it's going to continue. Like, the pendulum can just swing for me, and all of a sudden you can see Vardy hat-trick. Do you know what I mean? He still got the pens. I think he's a shout. Do you want to click the next one?
Starting this week, because I've brought in the Acho in.
Could happen. I'll be honest with you. See, if I get word that Kane was out, I would pull the trigger and I would captain Vardy this week. I'm not even joking. Like, he's been so overlooked, and I get that his form hasn't been good. And like, what I will say about Vardy is he's never been like a volume shooter. He doesn't take a big amount of shots. He's very efficient normally. He hasn't been efficient recently, even in the FA Cup. He's missing these really easy chances, and he's kind of beating himself up about it. What I will say is, I think the dynamic's going to change a wee bit with Maddison back in the team. He's going to be there to provide the bullets, and I think we could see a different kind of Vardy against Palace, I think. But I'll move on to Son, if you don't mind. Like,
no, that's all right. Greenwood, right? Isn't it? So
the next part's kind of like a focus. No, I'll speak through this part anyway. So the next highly owned player in the template was like Heung-min Son. You know I'm a big fan. He's an 84% of kind of elite top 10k teams, and I think he presents like a slightly less of a conundrum than, say, Kane, because like if we look back to, say, February, Son hasn't been in great form. He scored a couple of goals recently against Man United, and then he scored a goal last night. Like, if we're looking at Son stats since game week 24, he's kind of similar to Vardy in a way, where all his goal threat metrics since game week 24 for Heung-min Son have regressed. His shots have decreased, his shots on target have decreased, his shots in the box have decreased, big chances have decreased, and so have his goals. But again, his creativity has improved. It sounds about, like, why is this happening? And when we look at, say, Son's regression in terms of goal threat and his improvement in terms of creativity, it coincides with the return to the side of Bale. And Bale became more of like a dominant goal threat at the side when he came onto the team. And I think it's slightly worrying for Son when we look at, say, like Ryan Mason's now the coach. Bale started last night. I don't think Bale's going to be left on the bench the way Mourinho and Bale obviously had a fallout. Like, you know, that's what it seems to me. And I think now we're going to see Bale get more minutes. Could he be the shout instead of Son? But I'm looking at maybe potential replacements for, say, Son. And I think number one's basically missing Greenwood. So, like, we're looking at last week, his ownership was, say, sub 1%. That's obviously changed because people that owned him have rose in rank, and people are also going to buy him. But with Anthony Martial, he's out for, I think, the rest of the season. I think Greenwood's going to be the main beneficiary. So, like, if you're looking in terms of stats, he's now 4 goals and an assist in his last 3, and he's recorded consecutive double-digit hauls. Now, since game week 28, amongst all players, Greenwood ranks second for shots with 17 and top for shots in the box with 15. So, like, he's also received 4 big chances. He's created 3 for his teammates. In terms of fixtures, United's fixtures look all right, but they don't look amazing. Like, you know, they've got Leeds. I think they can score. They've got Liverpool at home, and they've got Villa. I think they can potentially score in all 3 of them games, and there's a fair chance that the match against Leicester is going to be added to the schedule for 35. So, looking at the statistical play and what we can see with the eye, I think Greenwood's a play. Now, looking more fixtures, like you're looking at Maddison, and I think as a fixture pick, he's nice. Like, he's been sidelined since February. He's had a hip problem. he breached COVID restrictions, so he was benched in the last. He didn't make a squad actually in the last game. But I had to look back a bit for Maddison because he's missed out. But like whenever I look back at the period, say from, I just want to check 2 seconds here. If you just click on the next slide there, Marner.
Yeah, there we go.
So, like, if we're looking at, say, Maddison's stats, and for these stats, I've had to go back and look at, say, game week 19 to game week 25. He'd notched 4 goals and provided 3 assists in 8 games, which is a great return. And over that period, he ranked second amongst all players for shots, which is impressive, and third for shots on target. He's got a huge slice of free kicks. He took more free kicks than anybody in the league over the period. His form before the injury, he's in 3% of top 10k teams, so he's definitely differential. We're looking at their fixtures and we're saying they've got Palace, they've got Southampton, they've got Newcastle. They're potentially going to gain Man United as well in game week 35. You're looking at the way Leicester are playing, they've got any actual bang on form. I think Maddison's a great shout. So, like, just to kind of conclude, like, my piece here.
Can I ask a question quickly on Maddison there, Hibbo?
Go ahead.
So some people have been mentioning that Maddison takes a while to kind of build up form. He usually is not a strong starter when returning. What are your thoughts on that? Do you buy into that, or is that just narrative?
I would like myself kind of buy into it, like, you know, from playing a bit of football, like it does when you come back from injury, it does take you a while to get up to speed. Now, what I will say is he has been fit. He's played some minutes in the league. He's played some minutes in the cup as well. He came on as a sub in the cup, like, so he's had some minutes. He didn't make the squad as far as I gather for the last match because he breached these COVID restrictions. So look, he's been in and around the squad. He's been training. I think with Maddison, he's kind of got a bit of this bad boy reputation. He's a bit of a spice boy. I know they're overloaded with options at the minute. You've got Euro 2020, which is bizarrely called Euro 2020, even though it's going to be called played, and it's going to be played in Euro 2021. Like, you know, so like I don't know what's going on there, but I think Maddison, like, if you're looking at these games now, I think Maddison has to lay down a marker to try and get on that England team because they've got Grealish, they've got Greenwood, they've got all Sterling, they've got all these players, Jadon Sancho. At the minute, like, is he even going to, like, he's going to make a squad maybe, but he's definitely going to be starting unless he does some magic in the last. Like, and I don't know if he'll start slow. I think he'll come out with a bang in this next game. Like, you know, I think Leicester, like, are a good thing, and the 3-0 from Marner, I think it's a great shout. Like I'm just, I'll finish my conclusion here, and it's basically like, see, in terms of Harry Kane, if he's fit for Sheffield United in game week 34, hold on to him, folks. If we receive some kind of news from Ryan Mason, Mason's already kind of marking himself down as a bit of a Solskjaer wannabe because he's been very coy about what's going on, I think, with Harry Kane. If we get news that Kane's definitely going to miss a league game, I think punt, the only person I would punt on is Vardy because I'm assuming he's all of Iheanacho. In terms of Son, I know there was a lot of people keen on the kind of hokey-cokey. I was against it last week where people were saying, I'm going to take Son out and I'm maybe going to bring him back in for Sheffield United. I was kind of against it. I'm looking at people's teams. They're asking me questions on Twitter, and you know what? If it suits your team, do it. Loads of them are maybe looking at bringing in Mo Salah or Bruno Fernandes. They're 2 big captaincy shouts this week. I think neither of them are in great form. And I think if you don't have Trent Arnold in your team, and this is the main reason for making this play, I think you go Greenwood, you go Maddison. Between the two of them, my choice would be Greenwood based on stats. And the whole reason would be to get Trent Arnold in your team because I think he scored something like 40 points in the last 4 weeks. And like I had an article prior to game week 31 where I picked like a hypothetical wildcard team. I've been kind of shouting about Trent Arnold kind of on my articles for a while. And I was so raging I didn't have a wildcard because I don't own Trent Arnold. And he's just been scoring points every week and it's just been absolutely sicking of my shit. And like, see this week, I'm looking at it thinking, I need to buy him, like, you know, because I can't keep championing and not buying him. You know, it's just... It just can't be done, you know. But no, that's where I'm coming from with break a template this week. So if you have any questions or,
well, I mean, I like the Maddison shout. I do like the Maddison shout. I think I was a little bit cool on him earlier part of the season. I preferred Barnes to him, but yeah, Maddison was doing bits, wasn't he? He was doing bits regularly. And
well, I think when you look at say
No, I was going to say I would love to take Aspilicueta out of my team, but there's one slight problem. It's called Kung Fu Stones, because John Stones tried to decapitate someone, and probably got sent off just for another flag for my Olympic opening ceremony team now, which is just littered with flags. So yeah, I think Trent is a must now. I was 0.1 out last week. I was waiting. You know, wait. The idea is wait because of all the issues going on. I did that and then priced myself out, and so I went for Phillips, and look where that ended. Look where that ended up. But yeah, I agree. I think all those shouts are great. There's one other player I'm going to throw in here, Hibbo, as another option, Sigurdsson.
I like it. I do like it. Like, I think his game's maybe tougher this week, like, you know, but I think I'm going to rip you off and just include him in my article next week. How's that?
Fair enough. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear, because I mean, I wouldn't probably move him in this week, but I'll tell you what, I am quite interested, because I think, you know, they've got the double game week. They're playing Villa, and Villa's defence is, as we've said, is not great. I think they play Villa twice in 2 weeks, don't they?
I think we Everton. Like, I think Sigurdsson's been getting a lot of minutes out of kind of necessity, you know, because they've always kind of been missing like one player. It's like Rodriguez was maybe injured, or Calvert-Lewin was injured, or like, you know, they were maybe missing a player in midfield like Allen, and they were dropping somebody back and putting Sigurdsson in. And he's kind of benefited from all these injuries, but he's showing a bit of form. Like we talked before we came on air, the way he took a goal against Spurs, like with a left foot, he's got the pens. I do like it.
Yeah.
I'll write it up next week.
Good man. All right, so fantastic. So that's the template well and truly broken by Hibbo's hammer. Or Hibbo's cider. Is it? Have you finished it? It's nearly gone.
No, I brought two cans because I know we like to talk.
As long as you don't have to stop and go to the toilet like you did last time.
We need to start out.
Let's keep going. We'll just cover the normal sections, and then we'll let you go, Gabe, as well. So we've got Soucek watch as usual. So we'll just have a quick look for potato salad lovers everywhere. And last week, I went for Nat Phillips. What a load of shit that was, eh? I didn't even bother looking who anybody else went for because I was that peed off. I never even bothered. I can't remember. Who did you go for, Gabe?
I don't remember.
No,
I'm on the beach, man.
I've nearly given up with this section. I think we'll keep it going for the rest of this year, and then we'll probably sack it off unless we've got it. But interestingly enough, these heading matchups are always worth having a look at, because I think it's quite interesting, because you never know. It might just we might just get an inkling of a defensive return, perhaps from a centre half. And you know, what have we got notable this week? We've got Wolves against Burnley, which is a very big positive. It's 5.8, I think. You're looking at 5.8. Liverpool against Newcastle, 5.4. Burnley against Wolves. So there could be, you fancy two-headed goals in a game. Burnley against Wolves.
I went for Sadio Mane.
Yeah, did you last week?
Last week, that was my Soucek watch.
well done. And Man U and Leeds, 3.5. So there's a number. Actually, there's quite a few matchups there, but I've only given 4. I just think that the game which has struck me as being the one where I think there's going to be a goal header. Well, sorry, I've just gone for Mane. And I honestly think, and to be honest, I know Nima and I discussed Mane on Tuesday, and I think, unfortunately, I quite like the idea, but now I can't do it because I've got too many fires I've got to put out. So that's blown out the window anyway. So I can't do it now, even if I wanted to. But I do think Mane 5.4 fixture matchup, Trent firing, 5 headed chances in the last 6 game weeks, which is equal third, and he's got a 0.73 non-penalty XG per 90 minutes, which is 4th. Mane's not a bad shout, you know. He's not fashionable like my hat, but he's actually not a bad shout. What do you think, Hibbo?
I think this happens. Like, I think you get to this tail end of the season, and like, you know, it happens every year. These kind of like unfashionable players or players that have been out of form kind of reinvent themselves and go on a run. I like the Mane shout. I really do. Like, you know, it's outside the box. He's a lot of money, but I can see it, like, you know, as an alternative to even, like, say, a Salah this week, you know, because I think Salah's like he's like the lazy captaincy shout this week, you know, not to offend anybody, but it's just like, oh, I own Salah and he plays Newcastle at home, like, you know, it could just as easily be Mane's day, or it could just as easily be Firmino's day, like, you know, it's just one of those kind of games where, like, I wouldn't be surprised to see those two boys return back.
I mean, we've heard about Bruno coming out, certainly. I nearly fell off the seat of the train when I was listening to FPL Banger when Sam said he was selling Bruno. Mm-hmm. I couldn't believe it. So I nearly passed out.
He couldn't believe it when he was saying it. He's like, I can't believe I'm about to say it.
But, you know, I mean, is Mane, if you can get to him, is Mane a route from Bruno?
Here's one for you. See in my article in Game Week 20 or in Game Week 28, I wrote up about selling Bruno, and I think the first match after he scored against Man City and he scored like 10 points, and I thought, this is an absolutely stinking shoot. Like, why did I top this up? And see, since then, he's done nothing. Like, he's done absolutely nothing. And, like, you know, I kind of look back at it and think, it actually wasn't a bad shoot because his numbers kind of had dropped off a wee bit. And then you're looking at this week, nice fixture and stuff like that, and people are going, oh, Bruno. And I think it's the same with Salah. People are saying Salah. And I kind of think, I don't know. I think it's lined up to have a goal because although those boys are highly owned, I think captaincy is going to be spread across the field. I think you're going to have a few players kind of in the lower ends of just over 100% EO. It's maybe a week where you can have a go and maybe not get hurt in terms of, like, I know people talk about rank protection and stuff like that. You're not going to get skinned alive like the way you could have potentially done if you had a backed against, say, Kane last week, although it doesn't happen. Like,
well, let me just put your template to bed, Hibbo. You know, I had an 87% template team and I dropped 70% rank.
That's crazy. There's a boy. I don't know. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter. He's called Prop Joe. Do you know Prop Joe? He makes all the memes. And I don't know if he was talking about my article, but he was kind of saying people are always talking about breaking the template, but nobody talks about how the template broke me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which I thought was really good, like, you know, because like people, like, it is true, like, you know, at times when you can try go against it, geez, it make a complete muggery, like, you know, it's just
it made a bloody mug of me. I'll tell you what, it really made a mug of me. It's just that just shows, doesn't it? You try to go a certain way. You think about it. You think about your ownership. You think, right, okay, I'm going to captain Kane. I saw that. I captained him. I saw my rank go down when Ken scored. You know, I was actually quite pleased he got injured. I shouldn't have said that. Really.
I was on the triple cabin. Don't be saying that.
I don't mean it. Really.
One comment on Mane really quickly is that there's a lot of competition for those midfield spots, and it's a big risk to go with Mane. I think, but when there are other like I think Maddison is a lesser risk for less money.
I don't disagree with you. I just think it's a different option. And I think if you looked at Liverpool, when we looked at the fixture difficulty early on, and it suggested that Liverpool attack over defence.
But then I kind of think, see what you're saying, like Liverpool attack over defence, Trent is Liverpool attack.
You would probably take the attack and defence and average it for Trent.
And you look at his price and he's 7.5 million, and see when Trent's not firing, I have a great theory. Like, you look at players and you kind of go, do they represent good value or bad value now at the minute? And I look at Trent now at 7.5 million, and you compare him to, say, Madison. We said he was maybe 7.1. Who's better value?
No.
I know they play different positions, but
Trent, more ways to points, right? There are more avenues to points with Trent.
Easily. Like, Trent does, it wouldn't surprise me. I think it was the match against Newcastle. Don't know if it was last season or the season before. He scored 20 plus points. It's possible. Like,
he's got to come in. I can't leave him out anyway. As I say, Hong Kong Fooey, John Stones. He's out of there. So yeah.
I sold him this week. It was great.
Sticks and stones may break my bones.
Yes, they may.
Yeah. I think the only person happy about we'll mention Randy again. Randy Shaft was absolutely delighted.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but give him a red card so he can't hurt me.
Yeah, exactly. Gabe, do you want to line your slides up?
Yep, ready to go.
I'll share your screen, and we'll let you loose. So just bear with us. Have you got them ready?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. Right, there we go.
All right.
We're going to
start. Okay. I'm going to start with stats and this slide. So this slide is the goal attempts conceded by Wolves in the last two matches on the left versus the previous two, 28 and 30 on the right. Now, to begin with a caveat, in 28 and 30, Wolves played Liverpool and West Ham. In the last two, they played Fulham and Sheffield United. So the stats will be skewed because of the matchups. But there's something that I noticed that's kind of responsible for kind of this shift, and something beyond the matchups is just a change in the way Wolves is defending. So if we look at just talking stats here. Against Liverpool and West Ham, the XGC for Wolves was 2.13 versus 1.32 against Fulham and Sheffield United. No big surprise there. The easier matchups, obviously, the easier matchups will have a less XGC. 2 big chances conceded against Fulham and Sheffield United versus 4 against Liverpool and West Ham. Now, this is the part that's interesting. So against Liverpool and West Ham, chances conceded from the middle of the field. Wolves conceded 10 chances from the middle of the field versus the center, 3 chances versus Fulham and Sheffield United. And I was wondering, then I took a look at the left and the right. Wolves conceded 4 chances from the left against Liverpool and West Ham and conceded 5 chances. So more chances from the left against Fulham and Sheffield than they did against Liverpool and West Ham. From the right side, Wolves conceded 6 chances against Liverpool and West Ham and conceded 7 chances against Fulham and Sheffield United. So I was looking, Wolves have conceded more chances from the flanks against the last 2 opponents, which is Fulham and Sheffield United, than they did against Liverpool and West Ham. This is notable because Liverpool have the most crosses in the league this season. They have 632 crosses. 736 crosses this season. So you'd think that Wolves would concede more chances from the flanks against teams like Liverpool that love to cross the ball. However, that's not the case. So what I've noticed is against the Fulham and Sheffield United, I think Wolves have been more compact around the 6-yard box, and they've created. You see the green kind of the green line there. They've created a kind of barrier, and they're forcing teams to cross the ball into them. Now, this week on the Zonal Marking podcast, they mentioned that that coincidentally, I listened to it after I wrote this last night as I was falling asleep. They looked at crosses. It was a big kind of tactical examination on crosses, and they noticed that 1 out of every 70 crosses ends up in a goal. Now, that's an extremely low return rate. So did Wolves figure something out, and are they forcing teams to cross more to decrease the percent chance of scoring? Maybe. Now, when you look at teams like Liverpool, who are highly successful at crossing, the past several seasons, certainly, they do cross a lot. They're a little bit of an aberration because they're going more towards more crosses, while other teams are shying away from crosses. Liverpool, but still, they have a success rate about 1 in 50, which is still not very good. So this is just something on Wolves' defense, because a couple of weeks ago we were talking about making fun a little bit of the fact that people were bringing Cody in, and Wolves were quite low on your metric, Mariner, in terms of defensive FDR. They were quite low, and they've risen recently, partly because of the fixtures, of course, but I think partly because of the change in the way they're defending. Then their organization at the back is different. So I think if Wolves can continue to force teams to cross more, I think their defense is worth investing. Certainly, I mean, obviously, I think I'd much prefer a player like Saiss, which has more routes to points, than somebody like Cody, who's afraid of the attacking half of the field.
Mr. Nosebleed, Mr. Nosebleed, as I call him.
That's right. The other interesting thing about Wolves' defense is against Fulham and Sheffield United. So this new kind of shape that they're playing in, they have more clearances, blocks, and interceptions. So they have 78 in the last two matches against Fulham and Sheffield United versus 65 against Liverpool and West Ham. Liverpool and West Ham, teams that shoot more, you'd expect there to be more blocks, but that's not the case. So with this new setup, we can see they're kind of like they're more compact in the middle of the field. So I think that they're getting more blocks on that front. So that's just a little analysis on Wolves' defense and how they've changed from a tactical perspective. I do think they're worth an investment, especially with in the easier fixtures. Now, the next thing I'm doing here. All right, so I wanted to take a look at Alain Saint-Maximin, right? Oops, is this no, this isn't the one I want. Sorry. Let's start here. And as I was looking through his stats, I realized I kind of came across something that was really surprising to me, and that's what led me to the scouting breakdown. So I noticed Alain Saint-Maximin, he had a goal, he had 2 returns, double return, a goal and an assist in game week 31 against Burnley. I'll get to that in just a second, but I point that out because in that same match, let's see, Saint-Maximin played 33 minutes. Dwight Gale played 56 minutes. Saint-Maximin came in for Dwight Gale. And Alain Saint-Maximin had a 0.18 XGI against Burnley, and he had 1 goal and 1 assist in that match. Now, Gale had a 0.63 XGI in that match, and had 0 returns. I went back a match before against Spurs, and that's the match that we're going to look at here. And Dwight Gale had an XG of 1.4, an XGI of 1.4 in 70 minutes with 0 returns in that match. So Dwight Gale is actually getting the stats, but Maximin is getting the production. So I wanted to explain why. And again, for our podcast listeners, I'll try to be as descriptive as possible. So here we're seeing a play in the 19th minute here, Newcastle against Tottenham. Newcastle is attacking. Richie has just switched the point of attack through, I believe it was Kraft there that helped them switch the point of attack. But I want to start with number 1, Miguel Almiron. There he is again. I told you he'd make another appearance. So this is the benefit of Newcastle playing in the diamond, right? That they have that they're more dynamic in their attack. So Almiron comes from midfield and drags Rodon across the pitch over to Rodon's left side where Reguilon is. Reguilon is actually marking Gale just in front of Rodon. Once the ball gets played out wide to Murphy, Gale recognizes the situation right away, and he sees how Almiron is dragging Rodon wide, and Joelinton is holding Sanchez centrally. So there's a gap there. There's a gap there for Gale to push into. Now, Murphy should really play this ball first time, one touch pass into that space if he notices it being created. Obviously, he doesn't do it. But this is an interesting situation. What I like about it is that look how early Gale recognizes this, and he recognizes it because he's looking over his shoulder and he sees the Rodon being pulled wide. We go to the next shot. Now look where Murphy is. I want to go back here. Murphy is about kind of close to the center circle when he receives the ball. Instead of playing the ball first time, he actually dribbles and ends up close to the box, and that kind of like the whole attack breaks down. And this is kind of highlighting some of the problems with Newcastle. So Murphy gets dispossessed, but the ball falls nicely to Shelby, who lines up. You can see the visual cues here show him lining up. He's going to hit it first time, cross into the box. For some reason, Rodon is kind of rooted. As it's easier to see, obviously, in the video. But Rodon is flat-footed here, ball watching, and Gale knows he has the inside track. He's between the ball and Davinson Sanchez. So he should be able to have that inside track on Davinson Sanchez. And I really like the Longstaff coming from the middle, running into the gap in front of Rodon. He's the one that really stalls Rodon. So this played like the way Newcastle's midfield interchanges with their front line, I think is working quite well. They have other problems for sure, but that the movement from Almiron and from Longstaff, and we'll see more of it later, is creating opportunities. We go here. This is the cross in. The cross comes in from Shelby, and he puts it right on Gale's head. And Gale is getting in great positions. He's getting good chances. Where he's lacking is in his finishing technique. So this ball is coming in from Newcastle's right side. Gale needs to put this ball with his head. He needs to put it right back, kind of where it came from. That's where he's going to get power. We see the green arrow pointing to the right side, or to Lloris's left side, which is where he should have really smashed that. Instead, he tried to deflect it. He tried to deflect it with his head to go far post. Now, it was a decent deflection, but that decision gave Lloris such a chance to save this ball. And Lloris, true enough, does come up with a good save here. This is a high XG chance. And what makes it even higher XG is the next slide here. The rebound. Lloris, as he does, Lloris is famous for giving rebounds right in front of the goal. Instead of parrying wide, Lloris just like slap it right back. He's like, try again, son. And you know, when you put it on Gale's left foot, I guess it's safe to do that because Gale just puts it right into the ground. And it almost actually splits. If you remember this play, Gale puts it into the ground. The ball's super slow. Lloris kind of like falls on top of it. It falls behind him. It ends up like underneath his bottom, and he kind of almost sits on the ball. This is just a bad play all around. But the movement from Gale is good, which is why his stats are good because he's getting good opportunities. But if we were to examine Gale's post-shot XG, I bet it would be quite low. And that's the problem with Gale. But Gale is getting the stats while Saint-Maximin is getting the production. And I will show you why with, here we go, against Burnley. So here's Saint-Maximin. Look at it, one. We have Saint-Maximin on the right side of kind of going down the right flank, Newcastle's right flank. He's just inside the box at the end line there. And Burnley is, it's kind of like hustling to recover. And we have four Burnley players, actually, not everybody's obviously watching, right, and marking, but four Burnley players stepping to the ball. This is the Saint-Maximin effect, is that he draws players in. So Alain Saint-Maximin makes the rest of his team better, right? Everyone stepping to the ball. We'll see here. This was a great little kind of Cruyff turn where everyone just shifted towards the end line, and Saint-Maximin cuts the ball back. He loves that little back heel turn, and we'll see it again in another slide. Oops. Yeah, there we go. Oh, hold on a second. Apologies. I'm missing a slide. Oh well. In the previous slide, Lamant Saint-Maximin hits it back to Murphy, and Murphy hits this kind of impossible shot. It goes through four Burnley defenders, extremely low XG, which is why Saint-Maximin's XGI is so low, because the XA on that play would have been really low. I still don't know how Murphy scored that. But this play here, this next one, really, I think shows the kind of like the power that Saint-Maximin has in the black. So he receives the ball from Shelby, kind of on the right side of the center circle, and he's driving he's got Tarkowski, who I somehow just realized looks exactly like Aaron Cresswell for some reason. And he has Ben Mee. He has Tarkowski and Ben Mee. So what he does is he angles his run towards the goal and on the outside he has Callum Wilson waiting on the outside. But Saint-Maximin, he angles his dribble and his run towards the goal. And what that does is that brings the two defenders closer together. By bringing the defenders closer together, his movement will alter both of them together. So this is just a really smart initial like angle on the dribble for Saint-Maximin. And again, the fact that Ben Mee kind of comes in towards Tarkowski opens up the space for Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson never sees the ball here, but I'll explain why opening that space for him is important in just a second. So once he gets to the next stage here, we see how close together Tarkowski and Ben Mee certainly has come inside. Now he Alain Saint-Maximin angles his dribble away from goal, which is really a genius move, because by doing that, he engages Ben Mee. So Ben Mee can't go back outside to cover Callum Wilson, and Tarkowski follows him, which Tarkowski following him opens up the space inside, and we'll see why that space is inside. I mean, I can't tell you if Alain Saint-Maximin plans this or if it's in the moment or if he sees this play kind of throughout, but it seems like he's like in the Matrix here, and he's Neo in the Matrix seeing this happen. He's bringing the two defenders closer together so he can kind of manipulate them in tandem. And we see, look at that space that opened up inside. We see it with the green box there. Alain Saint-Maximin goes back outside towards Callum Wilson, which causes the two central defenders to step outside. And then he cuts back inside, and he has all this space to shoot. And he catches Pope on in that near post. But this is all a creation of one player. This is a low XG play. The stats are going to seem really low. But watching the eye test shows that this is what he does. So I think Alain Saint-Maximin is going to be a stat breaker, and he's going to open things up for other players in his team. Now he's injured, right?
Yeah, well done. I was going to say the one player I've not seen much of is my mate. How come you've just done a full article on Newcastle attack and I saw Joe Linton on one slide?
I mean, he said Joe Linton, very nice. It was a very sexy way to say Joe Linton.
Yeah, Joe Linton.
Joe Linton.
Like that.
Yeah, well, and that's a little. So obviously, Brazilian. It's not like his first name is Joe and his last name is Linton.
That's what I thought it was. I thought his name was Joe Linton from Gateshead. Joe Linton from Gateshead.
Joe Linton. It's actually like Joel. So, but Joel in like Portuguese would be like, they like to extend their vowels, so it'd be Joel. So it's Joelinton. Joelinton. But
what do you reckon, Hibbo?
No, I think it's no. It would just be Joe Linton here.
Joe
Linton. Joe Linton.
Joel.
But I think this analysis of like Saint-Maximin spot on, because he's a kind of player like he had these kind of wild shots from like some of the goals he scored this season. Like they must be like really, really low XG. He's not a volume shooter. He's not going to be the kind of boy that's always just popping off like loads and loads of shots, like your Harry Kane, your Salah, your Bruno Fernandes. But it doesn't mean he's not going to score. And like he's going to defy XG. Like, you know, like we see players like Lingard's defying XG like every week, and then you're having this debate at the minute around about sustainability. And I just, to be honest, I'm sick to death of the bit, because it's like people are talking about Lingard's sustainability, and you go, well, if Lingard was to sustain his current returns, he'd be scoring 30 league goals a season. So no, it's not sustainable. But he's in a heater. Like, so bring him on. Do you know, like anybody using like a statistical justification, or he's unsustainable or whatever. Like, you know, I just think it's crazy. Like, you know, I kind of wonder, are they watching the games?
No, well, to be honest though, I mean, I don't mind accepting some criticism because I missed the boat with him.
So did I.
I missed the boat because I looked at the numbers too much.
Mm-hmm.
I must have bought because it was priced out by 0.1. I was going to make a move for Gundogan that was priced out by 0.1, and I kind of made a decision after Christmas, like, I'm going to lay off my transfers. I'm not going to make them quick and blah blah blah. If I had been playing in like September, I'd have made that transfer in like a Tuesday or something, like, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point there, Hibbo, and if we look at just kind of like the eye test, then we can see why players are outperforming their stats, and that doesn't mean nothing is sustainable, right? Because everything changes all the time. So like that argument of unsustainability applies to every single player. Even a player in poor form, for example, is like, well, that performance isn't sustainable, so let's bring the player in. You can use that logic backwards. That logic it's faulty. It's a faulty logic.
That's something I like touch on like a lot in my articles, where I'm kind of obsessed with like conversion, and like, you know, like something that people will talk about is like, you know, their form's unsustainable. Like, you know, they're hitting not a lot of shots, they're scoring a lot of goals, and by the same token, like I'm talking about Vardy this week. The rut he's going through at the moment for me is unsustainable because Vardy never is converting at such a low rate. He's never missing so many big chances. So like I kind of look at Vardy and just kind of go, well, what is he? He's premium player. He's premium fixture. Don't be overthinking it with none of your stats or nothing like that there. Yeah. Just look at Crystal Palace. Look at the way they're playing and forget so much about Vardy and just what he's doing himself, and just look at what he's done maybe historically in the last 4 years and go, well, I know he's a good pick. You know, and I kind of think FPL managers can get a wee bit bogged down in that. Oh, what about the last 4 weeks? What about the last 6 weeks? What about the last 4 years? Do you know what? I think it's important. Do you know, it's, you know, like 4 weeks, 6 weeks, it's such a small window. Like, you're going to have variances, and like people are going to, I just think the sustainability debate, I just think it's ridiculous. Like, you know, because it never will take into account the fact that players are going to have runs of good form and dips where they aren't playing well. It's like, you know, yourself, like, you're not scoring every week, and the only players that are, there are players that kind of seem to me like immune to the sustainability debate. It's like Harry Kane, Salah, Bruno Fernandes, and even those guys have tailed off in kind of recent weeks. Well, I know Salah definitely, like, you know, it's
sustainability is a concept to be discussed around the environment and our planet, maybe not so much for FPL.
Don't get me going on carbon. I've just been doing a full week on it. I can't. I'm gonna have to move on fast. One thing I look at is whether a player is due or not. And I think, you know, I look at their returns against their XI. So I expected. So I look at, you know, XG plus XA, so expected involvement, and then I look at how many returns they've got. And you'd be surprised how many times that if a player, maybe a Salah of this world, you know, you'd expect him at some stage, as the longer it goes, the more likely something's going to click. And I've seen it a few times, but it's just getting it at the right time, isn't it? It's all about timing. It's bringing players in at the right time, moving off them at the right time, and a fair slice of luck, which I haven't had any for about the last 4 weeks. But hey ho, that's life. Great, Gabe. Little Prince time as well. So
Little Prince.
I'm gonna say 3, 2, 1, and it'll be on the screen. Or it should be as soon as I do that. There we go. Boing.
Roman Saiz. So, you know, we saw in the Soucek watch that he's, you know, Wolves is quite high against Burnley. We saw how low Burnley was in the attack FDR. Saiz, as you and Nima mentioned in the FPL Compass show in Mariner, should have had an attack or could have had an attacking return last match. He's got so many ways to points. I remember at the beginning of the season when he was the Kurt Zuma of Wolves. Wolves with an improving defense. We saw why because of that change in how they're defending and his attacking returns. And is he on some set pieces, or am I mistaken there?
I think he was taking. Yeah, he's been taking set pieces as well. I mean, we said there's just so many routes for him to get a return. So no, I really like him. I think, to be honest, I think I did bring him in earlier part of the season, and then of course what happens? He got dropped, didn't he, for Kilman?
Well, I think I'm probably dropping my stones for Saiss for a hit this week.
I had Saiss as well in game week 3. Like, I have to say, I'm a huge fan. You know, his goal threat, I think, is just, I think it's unbelievable. Like, you know, he's very unlucky not to score in his last game. Like,
and I have to say, like, as far as Little Prince, you know, and it's not all about the stats, and Little Prince is more about feeling. When I think of Wolves, I want to take a nap. But when I think of Saiss, Saiss is the one part of Wolves that I find that is alive. So
I reckon it's a really good shout. And of course, you had a little success last week as well, because Little Prince was Cavani last week, wasn't it? If I recall.
He didn't even start, and he came and returned with a goal.
There we go. Fantastic. So yeah, you're on a roll, Gabe. Now you've got to kick on. So let's see what's going on next. So okay, let's try and move this up. So all right. So let's have a look at the captaincy. So we'll try and trundle through that, and I'll try and remember to keep moving the tickers on at the bottom, which I'm doing for once today. So there we go. Look at that. 4 green ticks. Well, there's only 3 players, but community poll last week, Kane, success. Metric, Kane, success. That wasn't a difficult one, really. I don't think we can claim a great deal of success from the metric. We're just getting Kane right. The cat picked Lingard, and I think he was lucky. I think that was a bit of a lucky return. And Mora, I got some points last night. I didn't bother watching because I was too busy licking me wounds from John Stone, so I've not even looked at anything. So I just didn't bother. I just downloaded the stats. As long as you're
not licking your stones.
I just downloaded the stats and went to work. I didn't do anything this one. I was that fed up. But yeah, Moore as well. So 4 out of 4. Not bad, boys. Well done. So let's look at the metric against the Mariner. And this metric now is just getting a bit crazy. I know we can't really claim too much credit for last week, but the metric now, 26 out of 32 successes, 81% hit rate, projected 637 points, and an average points per week of 16.8. So that's doing really well, isn't it? That'll be interesting to see where it finishes.
That's crazy.
It's getting to the point now where it's going to do, it can't do. It's sooner or later it's going to be a point where it's done pretty well. I think it can still go off the rails, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes today. My perspective, you can see I've had a bit of red in my. I've had some bad runs, but again, Kane, I went for it. Hibbo, I had to go Kane this week. I just almost like I was in a situation where I think, because I made a complete aberration the week before with Gundogan. Thanks.
Can I just say, like, the metric has 1 blank in the last 14 game weeks. One captain blank.
The last, in fact, look at the metrics blanks. 2 Brunos, 2 Salas, the 3 Brunos, 2 Salas, 1 Vardy.
I think I have 10 times the amount of blanks in the last 14 game weeks for my captain.
Yeah. But look at who it's been picking. It's going a bit off the rails, isn't it? It's had successes with Rafinha. It's had successes with Gundogan, Bamford.
The metric's getting cocky.
Well, it needs to. Someone needs to. On the other hand, I'm only at 66% hit rate, 561 points, which is still a lot better than last year, actually, and an average point for 14.
You were talking about, say, like you captained Harry Kane last week, and you kind of felt that you had it because of what happened the week before. But I didn't put a piece out last week, but like I had started my piece and I just never submitted it. I just didn't really feel it. But like a big part of it for me was that captain who you think's the best pick. There was a whole debate last week about, and you get this line in the FPL community, captain who you think's going to score the most points. Jesus, spare me. Captain who you think's the best pick. Yeah. And like in the last week, when you're looking at the stats, you're going to always pick Kane. But then at the same time, I nearly think it became like a binary conversation in the community. It's like, oh, I'm like Team Kane and you're like Team Son and stuff like that. You're going, But this is like we're talking about one game, like whereas like what we're talking about, say Vardy returns over 4 years compared to like Vardy over the last 6 weeks. Well, like if we're talking about one game or 2 games, anything can happen. Son can outscore Kane over those 2 games, and like I would never pull somebody down, but like for me, I thought it was an easy choice because I had the triple captain. The forecast was that Kane was going to have like say 200%, and I kind of thought, well, I'll take 300 this week, and I'll just love to fight another day type thing. And I can see why like people maybe thought I'll just captain Kane or to maybe rank protection or whatever, and I can see why people thought I'm going to have a go and have a pop at Son this week. And it was all much and muchness. Like, you can have these.
In the end, it didn't matter.
It never matters. Like half the time, it's like you get these like high floated debates in the community. So, I'm back on this player and I'm back on that player, and it all comes out in the wash, and everybody's got 12 points.
Yeah. Unless your captain Gundogan, of course, he comes off the bench for 1 point. There we go. Sorry. Anyway.
Well, you should have spoke to me before you done that.
Well, it was Gabe's fault. We were too busy getting all excited about Rob Holding that week, I think. Weren't we? So we made some silly mistakes. Anyway, let's have a look, see if the cat's going to make any silly mistakes this week. We have a couple of semi-finals for the poll again as usual because there's a few choices, and I think we have to try and whittle it down. So anyway, Bruno topped the United poll. Iniacho the best of the rest. Salah with respect to Liverpool, and Greenwood because he wasn't far behind Bruno, so I put him in as well. So, but the poll has come out with Salah on top. I don't think it's too surprising, but let's have a look and let's see what this fool cat picked this week.
I love this.
He was super hungry. This is the fastest one ever.
Mariner starves the cat for days before this.
What do you do? Do you rub dog food in a butts of pepper or cat food? What am I saying? Dog food.
Look how fast.
Is there cat food in the back of pepper?
Do you know what? As soon as you put the papers down now, it's there. He knows they're there every week.
Pavlov's cat.
Yeah, Pavlov's cat. Yeah, that's right. There we go.
One more person that's not even thinking. That's just going Salah, like Hibbo said. Not even thinking about it, just doing Salah.
Well, these are all the cards which I have here. Look, I've got all the cards here with all it. So, and I shuffled when I put them down. I shuffled them, so I've no idea where they are. But yeah, he was super hungry. But the moment we put them down this afternoon, he was there before even the food was there. He was already waiting. Like a cat. So anyway, he's coming in now. Here he comes. I can hear him scratching. Right, captain metric. Let's go. It's gone for Bruno. There is a caveat. There is a caveat, and that is Iniacho is on 82. He hasn't played yet this week. If Iniacho gets 1 return, he may go top. If he gets 2 returns, he will go top.
What if he gets injured?
If he gets injured, then he'll disappear off the thing completely because this thing takes into account whether the people are flagged or not. So, but yeah, Iniacho's very, very close. Interestingly enough, Iniacho is quite a distance ahead of Vardy for obvious reasons. Hibbo, we obviously know why. But if we just look at the metric, we run through it. So, hello, cat. So the first, bloody cat. Hang on a minute. Bloody cat. First, let's look at it.
You brought the papers out, and he came running. He's like, "Where's my food?"
Actually, that's a great point. That's probably why he's there.
Pavlov's cat.
So anyway, so we have Bruno 83, Rashford second 82, Iniacho also 82. As I've said, the caveat is he could go top. Put these numbers into context, and I like to do this now just to explain where we were last week. Kane was top with 84, but there was a multiplier in there for Kane of 1.75 because of his double game week. There's no multiplier there this week. So these are stronger matchups than.
Can I ask you a question here, Mariner?
Of course.
What if Greenwood were to make the metric, I'm assuming he's not there because of rotation. He hasn't played enough games.
He just missed out. I think, I have to double check, but in my other metric is right at the top. So I think he was second. I think he's second.
And then my question, I guess, would be between Greenwood and Iheanacho. Say Iheanacho gets a return.
He'll jump.
Because I think I'm going to go with the metric this week.
Well, Iheanacho goes to the top. I can't quite remember whether Greenwood was in front of Fernandes or behind. So what I'll do is I'll post it up on Twitter with the rotation removed so that people can see the full list. But from the perspective of the match of this, the rule is 30%. We have to make a rule somewhere.
Who are you backing this week?
Who am I backing? At this moment in time, I'm on Bruno. And the reason I'm on Bruno is because of the penalties, the number of penalties that Leeds concede. They've conceded equal top number of penalties this year at 9. So along with Liverpool and West Brom. So that's one reason why I'm going for that. I think he's involved enough. I think he may well be assisting the assister a little bit at the moment, which is a bit of a worry. But I do still think that Bruno is a solid. I think he's still a solid captaincy pick, to be honest, this week.
How about you, Hibbo?
I'll be honest, I haven't decided.
No. I mean, look, that's my choice at the moment. I have to say, if Iheanacho goes off tonight, I might well put it on Iheanacho.
I'm kind of funny, right? You know, and I know I've kind of talked to Nima about this, about say the whole concept of a boss team, and people log on their FPL team on a Monday morning and they set their team for next week. I don't do that. I don't change my captain. I'm really superstitious about captaincy. I never move my captain or my vice captain until I've made my decision, and I haven't made my decision yet. So usually the person my go-to for captaincy is Chris Tan, writes an article for Fantasy Football Hub, and his article is just amazing. It's my favorite article in the FPL world, and I never decide my captaincy until I read that article. But I think it's wide open this week, and I think we're going to see maybe 3 players possibly over 100% in the EO.
Yeah, I think he went with Salah. I think he went with Salah, didn't he, this week?
Maybe I haven't read it yet, you see, because I haven't decided.
Sure he did. I'm sure he did Salah, and I think his differential was in Iheanacho.
Right.
I think.
Well, I just want that.
You tweeted it, so I read it.
I know why, but I read all my stuff together. I tweet everybody first. I'm like a bot.
Oh, hang on a minute. Nima's in. He's saying he loves the hat. How about my hat, Nima? Yeah. I threw mine away earlier on when I was talking about John Stones. Very quickly, boys, because obviously we want to move on, try and answer a few questions before we get out of here. One thing I would mention, again, for the listeners, the fixture difficulty for Bruno is high. It's very positive, 118. So it's very green. Slightly better than Leicester's fixture, but that's before Leicester's results goes in tonight. So if Leicester do particularly well tonight, then that they could jump above that. And that's another reason why Iheanacho could do well. Equally, if Leicester don't do well, he could drop the fixture difficulty could drop off a bit for the matchup, and then he could fall away. So we'll have to see. I'll issue this again tomorrow, because let's talk where it is now. But the captaincy choice for the metric will be once the Leicester game's in. It won't be before. So whoever the metric picks will be on that basis.
We do have some news that FPL Match has just shared with us from Anfield Watch. Apparently, Nat Phillips and Curtis Jones are back in training today. Good news for you, Mariner. You're off the beach. But Diogo Jota was not pictured in training ahead of Saturday's match. So little bit of a concern. I actually like Salah less without Jota.
Yeah.
I think that hurts Salah. I think Firmino in there hurts him.
I can see that. I mean, look, if you look at Jota and Salah in the metric, you can't split them.
Right.
They're virtually identical look. There's just one more return for Jota and just a slightly lower form or expected points per game. And that's what brings them together. So they're very the same. And I mentioned about TAA, and I got a question from, I can't remember who it was on Twitter, but anyway, so I added TAA in. and you'll see that he's quite a long way down, and that's because of the fixture difficulty. Look, 102 or 102.7 for the defence against 113.2 for the attack. So that tells me that, yes, they can do. Yeah, they can. I'm not saying TAA is a bad captaincy pick. I'm just saying that the way the metric calculates it, it doesn't like him. It likes, to be honest, it likes Azpilicueta more, but I've took him out in a fit of disgust after him not being in there from last week. So that's the metric. The last thing to look at is the differential, and the differential I've gone for this week is Mason Greenwood. I just think that he is a fantastic shout. Lucas Moura returned for us last week. I mean, look at his numbers again. Credit to Fantasy Football Hub, because I love these graphics. So I stole it and dropped it on the screen today. But he really does, despite what we've just said. I mean, the fact that I probably will captain Bruno. Look at those numbers.
Do you know what I think's really noteworthy in this? Bruno looks as if he's about 40 stone. Do you not look at the photograph like he looks?
You know what he does, doesn't he? He looks as fat as me.
I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say it, Marna, for God's sake.
Look, well, it's a fact.
Looks like he has a couple chins hiding under that beard.
That's it.
It's maybe the photograph. Or maybe you want to have a word with the lads at Fantasy Football Hub and find a better photograph for him.
They might have to send me to take photographs of him. Me and Nima.
If you did that, that'd be a team photos. But no, I mean, look at it. I mean, you only have to look at the graphic in the middle, blue over red. Look, that's the last 6 games. Crazy. He is so much stronger on.
So question: Why would you go Bruno over Greenwood?
Penalties.
That's it, right?
Yeah, penalties. It's an easy route to a captain return, in my view. And I just think that there's tricky players. United have got tricky players. I think Leeds have a habit of diving in. They get themselves into bad positions. They're a habit of diving in. They'll give penalties away, and that's why I think I'm going with Bruno. Nothing more.
I think we agree. I think with Greenwood, there's obviously the chance that he's potentially going to miss out. Now, I know because Martial's out, he's going to play more minutes than what he was playing before. He's obviously in great form, so there's less chance he's going to miss in the business of form.
Yeah.
But I think with Bruno, there's obviously an element of FOMO here, and added to the penalties where people they look at the history of the player, all right, you're looking at his recent form, but you look at his history and you go, I think since Bruno's joined the league in the middle of last year, nobody can come close to him in terms of FPL.
No.
And you're looking at he's potentially going to post a score amongst your AFPL greats, like your kind of Lampard, kind of Van Persie type players, which is in his first full season. It's crazy, So, for me, Greenwood wouldn't really be a captaincy. I'd be happy enough to own him, and the percentage gain I'm going to get from a differential will be enough for me.
Would you captain Rashford over Greenwood?
No.
I would say I might captain Rashford over Bruno. There's something I don't like the Bruno pick, mostly because those Bruno stats of the past year, right, since he's joined the league, most of them have been without Pogba. And I wrote a piece a few months ago that Pogba's inclusion pushes Bruno to the left side, and from that left side he usually creates from the right side, and then he kind of takes his own chances from the left. But with other players firing like Rashford, like Greenwood, like Cavani, Bruno has like you said, Mariner, has been assisting the assister more. So that shift in positioning really turns me off about Bruno. I would captain Rashford and Greenwood before I captain Bruno this week.
Yeah, as I say, I'm just drawn to the penalties. It's that reason for me. I just think there's a route to at least one.
Do you know what?
Wouldn't be at all surprised.
Do you know what I'll say about that? It's people talk about the kind of Pogba thing, and when Pogba's on the side, Bruno maybe isn't as good a fantasy option. But when Pogba was out of the side, United weren't as good a team. I think United click as a far better team, and I don't know. I think the sample's quite small for the whole Pogba thing. Let's see how it plays out. Would be how I would say. And if I would look at it this week, I don't think I'd have Rashford in my team. if I'm being completely honest with you. I would maybe double on Greenwood and Bruno, but then I look at them fixtures and I look at Leeds, Liverpool, Villa, Leicester have easier fixtures. You know,
I think I'm warming to that Maddison move rather than Greenwood. Actually, I'm wondering whether that might be the way to go. Although, like you said, if Kane's not, if Kane is not fit, then the Vardy move. Because I mean, who else am I going to put in there? The Carpenter. You know,
and he was when I was writing the article, I was maybe going to go as deep as Watkins, and I had to have a word with myself.
No, I'm the same because I mean I've got Vidra, Sean Dyche's favourite player clearly, Iniacho and Kane. So at the moment I've got a nice spread of, I've got the price points to be able to move around. Still, it's okay. But if you take Kane out and put Watkins in, and then of course I'll have tons of cash. But then I just think that maybe, like you say, maybe Vardy is a decent, maybe Vardy is a decent shout. Interesting times. Right, 1 hour 55, boys. We do talk a lot, don't we? But it's great. I've enjoyed it. So, any question? Have you seen any questions in there, boys? Because I have to say I've just did to dig through. So
Nima asks if there's any love for Trossard in the captaincy metric.
I wouldn't put him in.
Right.
I do like him as a pick this week, but I just don't want to be brief here. Like, you're looking at your team and you're going, you've got Jota, Lingard, Bruno. I don't have a spot in my midfield for Trossard. Yeah. Like, as good as a pick as I think he is, maybe this week and next week and whatever. I don't have a spot for him. Like,
hang on a minute, I'm just looking on the algorithm where he is.
I agree. So, he doesn't. There's so much competition for the midfield spot, so he doesn't fit for me.
Well, I'll tell you the algorithms picked if this is of any interest. So anyway, forwards, it's picked Iniacho, Vardy, and the sub is Watkins. Greenwood, Rashford, Fernandes, Havertz, and Jota. And defence, Pereira, Dunk, Veltman, Zuma, and TAA. Goalkeepers.
I think Surya got Veltman, right? Instead
goalkeepers, Sanchez and Patricio. So, but I didn't say, I think Trossard was about, the trouble is I very quickly got to 3 Brighton players in that metric because it loves the matchup, right? Because it really loves that number. So I think Trossard was quite high up. And I tell you who else was quite high up as well, and that was Welbeck. Interestingly enough. But obviously I can only pick 3. So I've got to then leave. So I picked the top 3 out the numbers. But that's that one. Any other questions, boys? Or
I think there was a few. Well, Aidan had asked about Mendy, and he's obviously got a goalkeeper problem.
I think Martinez. I just think they've got an extra game, haven't they? He's got an extra game to play.
Yeah.
You could just be done with Mendy and just get somebody like that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alex Reef was saying Kane Vardy in the carriage, a lot of uncertainty with injuries still. Sheffield United next. He's basically suggesting that if he plays the cup finals, he's maybe going to play Sheffield United. If I'm being completely honest, I can maybe see Kane playing the cup final with like an injection or something. If he can, I think cup final he would play in one leg. But I just think we're not going to get information in Kane, solid information, and we're all going to hold him. And I have a feeling he's just going to miss Sheffield United.
Fair enough. There's a question here from Jamie Baker, by the way. Another one. We always get one a week. Have we been doing any homework whilst Gabe was doing his article? I was. Mine's sauerkraut.
I thought of sauerkraut too.
I'm just sour. I've just got a sour taste in my mouth from this week. So every transfer is a sour taste. So I'm going to go for sauerkraut. I'm
basically going to be Solskjaer's son, and I'm not going to be eating because I think I'm going to be saving my transfer. So Solskjaer famously came out and says if Hungmin's son was his son, he wouldn't eat after throwing himself down or whatever, as if he was shot. So that's going to be me this week. No food at the table, no transfer, maybe.
No food at the
table. But then I know it's boring. But if Jota's maybe not going to play and Lingard's not going to play, I could be in bar.
Well, if Phillips at least plays, I'm going to keep him. and I will double up on him this week, which will end in tears because he's going to have to play anyway. But then I don't know what to do with. I don't know what to do with them. It's just the fact I've got so many flags. I've got to go double Liverpool defense at the moment because I've got to get Trent in. I think
my savory dish is going to be, since I don't eat meat, but one of our favorite meals here is the Impossible burger, that Impossible meat. So that's what mine's going to be. It's going to be an Impossible burger because there's no way I'm catching 100K. So whatever I do is just impossible. It doesn't matter.
I was thinking about something I really hate, so I was going to go with liver. I detest liver. I really do. There we go. Anyway, any other questions there? So there's a Trossard question. Here we go. From what is it? Yakdam. Son and Alonso to TAA and Greenwood.
Trent and Greenwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Do it.
Okie dokie. And I don't know if there's many more. Unless you've seen them, otherwise we'll just get out of here, boys. Oh, hang on, here we go.
Chelsea. Childish.
Chelsea double or triple defense. A challenge now with Tuchel roulette. I think it's a challenge without Tuchel's roulette, personally. But I look. How many times do I do it? I always back the wrong horse just recently, don't I?
The trouble defense. The trouble defense is going to be
starting. If Kepa's going to be starting, don't double. I mean, with that uncertainty, and that's why I think Rudiger is still a good pick. He's still value. He's not expensive. But with Kepa back there, you got to temper expectations.
Absolutely. And another question there from Shailesh as well. Move on from Alonso.
Possibly. I don't know. They don't have the worst fixture this week. So. I don't really know. I could move him on. I'm kind of half in my mind. I'm thinking, could I get Trent? And the easiest way to Trent is by moving Alonso on. And see, next week, Alonso is going to be a problem for me. Every week that moves on, I'm going to be thinking, is Chilwell going to play in the Champions League? And what kind of way is it they love your life? It's just awful.
You don't need that. You don't need that shit. There's enough shit flying around FPL without having to try and work that one out, in my view.
If you can get to Trent, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me.
No, I agree. FPL Masher, thoughts on a Patricio as a goalkeeper?
Probably should have done it 2 weeks ago. I was boys done it in the game week 31 wildcard, and I looked at the Wolves double up, and even somebody asked me a question last week, and I kind of thought, I don't know about the Wolves double up, even against Sheffield United. I kind of thought I'd maybe diversify your risk a wee bit there. Jesus, it's pulled up trees for anybody. I don't know.
Yeah, he is. He's going to go crazy for the rest of the season. He was never going to stay like he was he? Rajat, who would you replace Mahrez with? 8.2 in the bank. He's got Son, Salah, Lingard, and Rafinha.
Who does he want Mahrez?
I like Trent. So who would you replace? Will you stick with Mahrez? I mean, did he play? He played last night. Last night, didn't he? I think he did. I think he played.
Looking at that, I would kind of say Greenwood or Madison. Looking at my article, they'd be the two.
Or Madison.
They'd be the two. I'd be looking at me, but I have a few pounds spare. They throw about.
Yeah.
Robbo for Son. Robbo in soon. I don't know about that.
Stop being a cheapskate and just buy a fucking Trent. That's it. No, do you ever see FPL managers? And I'm guilty of this, but everybody else, I think it needs called out. FPL managers, they create a narrative, they fit their budget. So if you only have a maximum 7.2 million to spend, you go, no, I think Robbo could be a great pick. And they're he's done nothing. He's done absolutely nothing all year. Now I'll tell you what, back on the score tomorrow because he's going to score a 30-yarder or something after this now.
Mariner's going to make another Nat Phillips comment here. We'll not cover Trent.
No, I can't talk over there. What, 0.1 out? Bloody hell. I mean, of course, and then we had this discussion, didn't we? We said, do we go Robbo instead? No. Well, that was actually wise.
Yeah.
that was wise. I don't think I'm not too hot on Robbo, to be honest. FPL banger, Bruno or Salah, who is most essential this week? I hate that word, Siver.
I'm going to agree with you. I hate it too. Neither one of them's doing anything, but we all own them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, well, both of them could go. Both of them could have a very, very good week. I think they're both very good captaincy shouts. Maybe I've been burned too many times by Salah this season. I'm about done with captaining him. 5 blanks I've had with him this year. I wouldn't
want to be going on the game week without either one of them.
No.
So no, I'm in agreement there.
No, I agree. All right, guys. I think that's. I think we'll knock it on the head with the questions, and we'll get out of here. Been a long one, but it's been worth it. Hibbo, thank you very much, mate. Always a pleasure to have you on and to with your hammer to break this template, and you always come up with some real gems. Gabe, nice to see you again. Thanks for the fancy dress. Thanks for the fancy dress. It's always good. I hope your season's really not on the beach, because we do need some articles. But would you mind selecting a player who isn't injured next week?
I got something special for next week.
Oh dear. Right, anyway, we'll read it. I'm looking forward to Hibbo's article on Sigurdsson as well. Guys, I think that's it. Let's get out of here. Nothing much else to say apart from, if you enjoyed watching this, please do. If you don't already subscribe, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Leave us some comments if there's any positive feedback or negative. Quite frankly, we don't care. We'll answer it anyway. And also hit the bell for notifications. I'm back on Tuesday morning my time, which will be following up on the Leicester Palace game with Nima to do the Compass show. You'll find Gabe's article on allaboutfpl.com. You'll find Hibbo's template article on Fantasy Football Hub. You'll find Gabe at FPLLens, Hibbo at Hibbo_FPL, myself at FPL Mariner, both on Twitter and Instagram. And apart from that, there's not a great deal else to say apart from, please, FPL gods, would you mind being just that little bit kinder?
Just be kind.
To poor old ancient Mariner sat here. I need a bit of help. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for
everyone
coming on. It's been a great chat as usual, and we'll see you all really soon. Bye-bye.
Good luck.